You should be good. Adrian, can you hear me? Just doing my check.
Hello.
Yep, good.
You
We can hear
good?
you. Awesome. Thank you. I'm
Thanks.
gonna go mute. Thanks, Adrian.
Okay.
Bye bye.
You're okay, Jeff?
I can hear you.
All right, very good. All right, I call the Information Technology Executive Council meeting to order. And first item on the agenda is introduction. We have a couple new members. First, we have John Berghaus from, John is Vice President for Information Technology and Chief Information Officer at Salina Regional Health Center. He provides leadership for an innovative, robust, and secure information technology environment throughout the health system. He joined the Regional Medical Center in 2019, bringing with him 25 plus years of healthcare IT experience and focus on quality and customer service. Prior to healthcare, he worked for NASA at Kennedy Space Center and served as a nuclear engineer in the U.S. Navy. So, John, welcome. I believe John is online with us today. Is that correct? All right. Second, we have Murray McGee. Murray is the Executive Director of the Information Network of Kansas. He is here with us today in the room. He graduated from Fort Hays State University with a degree in communications and has over 20 years of experience in public service, including serving as an economic development director in Beloit, Chanute, and Mountain Ridge. Murray has been instrumental in securing millions of dollars in grants funding for public projects and has honed his skills in marketing, budget, financial management, grant writing, and grant administration. He hopes to utilize his experience to the benefit of the Information Network of Kansas, state agencies, and the residents of our state. So welcome, Murray. All right, next item on the agenda is the roll calls. Lena. Here.
Senator J.R. Clays. Senator Jeff Pittman.
Here.
Adam Prophet.
Here.
Amber Schultz.
Here.
Adrian Guerrero.
Here.
Lynn Brett.
Here.
David Marshall will be absent. Greg Gann.
Here.
Mike Mayer. Murray McGee.
Here.
Steve Funk.
Here.
John Berghaus.
Here.
Alex Wong.
All right, I didn't hear Jeff, but I know he's online there. Got
Yeah,
him
I'm on. I couldn't hear
reported.
Selena for half of that.
All right. So next item is approval of the agenda. So I'd entertain a motion for agenda approval. So moved by Jeff Pittman,
Second.
second by Greg Gahn. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. All right, motion carried. Approval of the minutes. In your packet, you should have the June 20th minutes from the June 20th meeting. And I would entertain a motion for approval of those minutes. Moved by Senator Pittman, seconded by Secretary Prophet. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. The minutes are approved. All right, next item on the agenda is action items and Alex Wong.
Don't have any action items.
All right. Next item is the advisory board, the Information Technology Advisory Board update with Jeff Maxson, the executive branch CTO.
Good afternoon, everyone. ITAB was relatively quiet. Most of it was kind of giving an update on legislative session, stepping into kind of the JCIT meeting cadence for the kind of the fall and winter. And we did cover our generative AI policy, but I'll address that here in the further the CETO briefing as well. So one of the things we did in late July, the executive branch passed from the office of from OITS passed basically a generative AI policy for executive branch agencies. So that was a little bit of the topic and conversation, JCIT update, and also further discussion on the new project methodology. So, it's a relatively light schedule, an agenda for ITAB, and we'll cover a bulk of that here today as well.
All right, any questions for Jeff? All right, thank you, Jeff. Next item is presentations, legislative update. Allie Denning, Director of Public Affairs.
Hi there, everybody. Thank you. It's a little jarring and loud. So JCIT met last month, August 23rd. There are a few key things that we covered. One in particular was our new generative AI policy. So it came out applicable to all executive branch agencies shortly before that meeting. So Jeff had an opportunity to give them an update on what that policy looks like. There was a lot of interest, a lot of positive feedback on the policy, which was really good. And we know there's going to be more questions as generative AI is progressing. And so one of the things that the chair had recommended is that at a future JCIT meeting, he would actually like to spend a portion of the meeting, whether it be a full morning or a half a day, but spending that time doing a deeper dive on generative AI and really what that is. So we will see more conversation around that at the legislative level. Also during that meeting, Alex Wong had an opportunity to present on the new business risk evaluation that's being applied to all reportable IT projects. And so as part of that walkthrough that he did with JCIT, he walked through the questions, helped them understand the methodology and the reasoning behind those questions. There were, certainly interest in the room about what that's going to look like, how things are weighted. But in talking with JCIT and having a chance to talk with the chair in advance, what we are going to do is provide another update next year once session has gotten through, we'll have had more IT projects go through that process. So we'll have more data to work with about how that process is working. And so we will be giving another update to JCIT then. Also, one of the things that JCIT has been asking for are different presentations of IT projects. And so we do recommend for anyone, if there is a request that they present an IT project to JCIT, that they make sure whomever is there in the room to present on that project, that they also have, whether it's members of their business units or other individuals that can help with some of those supplemental questions, that they also be in the room just to help field some of those questions in case they need that extra information. And then just a piece, kind of JCIT, kind of not. We did have our second annual cybersecurity summit last Wednesday, September 20th. It was down in Wichita. So JCIT was originally scheduled to meet that day. They chose to cancel, so that way members who were interested and available could attend. So we were pleased that we did have several members of JCIT that were there, could hear a lot more around the different cybersecurity things that we're faced with right now. Certainly AI was a big topic that came up, resources available to entities outside, executive branch agencies, cities, counties, K through 12, a lot of good conversation and a lot of good feedback from the members who were present. So we're really excited to have that. And so those are the main topics I have for right now. JCIT will meet again on October 18th, and they also have a meeting scheduled in November. Are there any questions anybody has or anything that I may have missed?
Any questions for Allie?
Thank you.
Thank you, Allie. Next item is ITEC policy updates and Alex Wong, our Chief Information Technology Architect.
Thank you, Adam. And I'm Alex Wong, Chief IT Architect for the state of Kansas. So in our last ITEC meeting, we actually went through the approval of policy 2400, which is, Addie kind of mentioned earlier, about the criteria of keto projects. And so those are all done from the last meeting, but then there is a follow-up policy, which is 2410. And that is actually included in your meeting package as well. At the back of the meeting package, you will find both the clean copy of this policy and a red line copy of this policy, indicating the changes that is made for this specific policy. So quick highlight of this policy. This policy is specifically designed for making requirements for having an IVNV. IVNV stands for Independence, Verification, and Validation. So any IT project that's over 10 million or above in a procurement cost must have an IVNV included in the RFP prior to the bid being rewarded. So this is basically the short version of this policy, is to make sure that that is using the same languages that we have changed in the 2400. So the definition of IT project and the criteria being used to match up in the KETO process is the same in this version. So we have actually also submitted the same thing for ITEC last meeting for them to review first. So through the process, we're going to bring it to this council here to have a chance for this council to review as well. And then the next step is to look at feedback from ITEC next time and then ask for an approval from ITEC in our next meeting. That is all I have. Questions?
Questions for Alex?
All right.
All right, thank you, Alex. All right, next item we have on the agenda is discussion on presentations. We had a meeting with the three CETOs to kind of discuss this a little bit and talked about getting some ideas on presentations for ITEC that could possibly provide us information as we review and update policies and any other information that could be helpful to not only ITEC but state agencies in general. So we wanted to kind of open it up to the members of the council to see if they have any ideas about presentations or information that could be presented at these meetings that would be helpful. So any thoughts or ideas? Senator Pittman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just say that I'm particularly interested in any kind of overview of artificial intelligence kind of presentations we might be able to take on, maybe from some action folks in the industry. It would be interesting to hear from different entities that are represented on this board. If somebody wanted to take 10, 15 minutes to talk about, for example, Inc. is a great organization, or anything about the status update of KBOR, or any of the entities or agencies that are in there. It'd be interesting to hear how things are going and that type of thing, if they're up for it. And any kind of best practices committee that would be able to come in and do an annual thing from either a national organization of states or anything like that would be, of course, of interest, even if it was virtual. So those are my thoughts.
Okay. So any presentations or information we can gather on AI? Sounds like that's the most recent topic that everybody's been on. Greg Gahn.
Thank you. At last week's Cybersecurity Summit in Wichita, our own Jeff Maxson was a remarkable presenter and very knowledgeable on the topic. And I think at the very least, a repeat of his efforts at that summit and expand upon that from partners. But I thought it was well received.
All right, Jeff, would you be willing to repeat that at a possible future meeting? Maybe in December?
Yeah, I can do that.
All right, we'll put Jeff on the agenda for an AI presentation. Any other thoughts? One thing I had saw was one of the projects that came across was audio visual updates going on over at KU. They've got a big project to update all their classrooms and conference rooms over there. So I was kind of interested in the way they were using their technology that could be useful for other agencies, because generally the universities are kind of on the cutting edge of things, and see how they're using that equipment might be interesting. If the council would think that might be useful. Alex, we might contact somebody over there, see if they'd be willing to present on their project. Okay, so without seeing any other suggestions, I'd like everybody to kind of keep this in their mind and think about things that, like I said, that might help this council in updating and reviewing policies, and also how it might help state agencies that we could dig into a little bit. So thank you all for your input, and we'll move on with the agenda. We're going to do staff reports now. The CETO updates, judicial branch, and that's Kelly O'Brien.
Thank you.
Sure.
Need that. Good afternoon, all. Since we last met, we have, for those who know or have heard me, our big focus here over the last few years is installing our new case management system. I can tell you we now have 104 of the 105 counties installed. In August, we just installed Sedgwick County. The two that we have remaining is Johnson County is the one district court we have remaining, and then this building, the appellate court. We're scheduled to go in Johnson County next November. The appellate, we don't really have a go live date yet, but we are hoping sometime between now and next November to actually get that implemented. One of the things that our next step will be with that product is we will have to go through one of the things that many software companies are doing now is they're starting to push a SaaS model. And so we are beginning to investigate what that means. Should we take advantage of that and move forward? No timeline on that yet. That's probably going to be a pretty substantial undertaking for us. That would be new for us here at the courts to have put our stuff up in the cloud and be managed that way. So that we need to make sure our court rules and our policies and procedures are in place before we would do any of that. And of course, as you all know, that will be a large undertaking. Other than that, right now, from a technology point of view, that's really what we have going on. So, thank you, Alan.
Any questions for Kelly? All right, thank you, Kelly. Next is the executive branch, Jeff Maxson, CETO.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, Jeff Maxson, Executive Branch Interim Chief Information Technology Officer. Past few months have been very busy across the board on both the IT side and the cybersecurity side. Big thing we've been working through is the risk-based project management methodology. So we've been working on collecting information, collecting those projects, refining those. I'll defer to Alex a little bit if he has anything he wants to add to it. But again, really changing how we look at that, seeing all the different projects coming in and what they look like, and kind of actually, that portfolio of what we've seen has drastically changed in kind of its makeup and project wise. And so that's good to see how folks are submitting those and screening those to whether there are projects or not. So so far we haven't encountered any major hiccups with the system. We worked through a couple processes that needed to be corrected to send things for the advise and consult piece of the statute. And so we've been kind of working on that. But other than that, Alex, have we received any specific feedback on the process and how folks are viewing that process?
Yes, the Keto office, including Sarah specifically, is looking at every single project that is submitted since mid-July. We have about between 25 to 30 demands that have been submitted since then. And every single one of them is basically a data point for us to look at whether the risk is coming in as the way that we anticipated and whether they are filling it in correctly. So through those interactions, we are going back and forth with the agency, and we are looking to make some changes as well in the coming month to make sure that we'll kind of dial in and bring up the projects that needs legislative oversight. But yes, we are having a lot of feedback from the agency.
So thank you, Alex. And so obviously, as this being a new process, we're going to have to continue to monitor, evaluate, and refine, and then work with legislature to make sure we're collecting the things and pieces of information they would like to see as well. So again, it's been a collaborative effort to make sure we are, one, seeing the big picture of all IT projects, regardless of cost within the state, but then also making the information available for the legislators so they can see what's going on. And if they have questions, hopefully have the information to get them the answer. So that's been one of the big projects. And again, I will hold on to the AI piece for a second. As Greg had mentioned, last week we had our cybersecurity summit down in Wichita. Again, around 200 some folks in attendance to that summit. It went really well. This year we did partner with GovTech. The previous year we kind of did that on our own, so we were actually in a hotel and conference center and not necessarily in a National Guard armory. So it was a little more organized. And so I think it turned out really well. So we had Google present on AI. We had a white hat hacker and privacy expert present early in the day, just kind of looking at things through the eyes of a hacker and how they kind of attack systems. It's kind of fun. An individual spoofed and used generative AI to use Dwayne Johnson's or The Rock's voice to impersonate a phishing attack. So it was very interesting to see that. And then also just kind of talking, the big takeaway, again, building on the collaboration mentality. Again, we're all in this together. Great turnout between cities, counties, school districts, higher education, as well as the state. So again, kind of the resounding theme, and I can kind of go over some of those things at the next ITEC meeting that we kind of discussed as well. A couple weeks prior to that, we had the Digital Government Summit as well, again, sponsored by GovTech. And again, a multitude of topics, everything from generative AI to data management to generative AI, I think, as well. And so again, another great conference. I think there was a little over 100, 120 at the Digital Government Summit. That was held here in Topeka. So again, just a lot of activity coming into October, which is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. We will hold our 5th annual Governor Cybersecurity Summit for state executives. So that's going strong. And this year, again, we'll kind of do like we did last year, which was a tabletop exercise. So we'll be walking through that again with the executives and kind of meeting the mandatory requirements for some of the executive level cyber training and that. So again, looking forward to that, and that's coming up here very quickly as well. So again, just a lot of busy things going on. We're in the process of finalizing. We'll be releasing a bunch of RFPs as well. And so again, as we kind of keep moving to kind of the next versions of major technologies we have, we'll be going through the process as well. So again, a lot of exciting things. Our security office, Mark will have some updates on that as well, but we were afforded 9 new positions last year through legislature. I believe we filled 8 of the 9 already. So we are making a lot of progress in that in the cyberspace and acquiring some new tools to start rolling out to executive branch as well. So also, Mark will cover some of this, but kind of an update on the working group for the 7,200 or 7,000 series policies of ITEC. There's a lot of good discussion. They've started meeting. One of the big decision points they're kind of coming around is more of something probably for a structural conversation for ITEC about how we kind of want to break some policies down, or we want to keep them kind of a large format. So especially in the security space, there's kind of 2 mindsets. There's break down policies by individual families. So like access control versus audit, are those going to be separate policies, or do we keep them as just kind of one big policy? So they're kind of working through that, but I think that might be a discussion point for ITEC and how we want to view future policies, especially in the security space. They're trying to dial in on maybe a national standard using something like the federal NIST cybersecurity framework. It's a simplified National Institute Standard of Technology security policy. Their big version is Special Publication 800-53, which is about 250 to 300 pages. the cybersecurity framework is kind of down to about 70 pages, and that's going through a new iteration. But how do we align maybe ITEC with one of those federal guidelines as well? So that's what one of the big things they're working through as well. And then moving on to the generative AI policy. So in early August, at the end of July, I signed a policy for generative AI for executive branches, for executive branch agencies. This policy is not one that prohibits the use of generative AI, but sets some guardrails and how agencies can start to use it and explore it. So the genie's out of the bottle. It's not something we can ignore. And that policy was set in place to kind of start guiding agencies on appropriate use of it. We're seeing some states set up committees to kind of evaluate the impacts, things like that. When we're working at it with here in Kansas, it's moving so fast, we had to get something in place to kind of guide use of it. So some use cases like application development or developers using it to help speed up their development process was kind of bubbling up as a first use case for it. And so some agencies were asking for some guidance. So we took steps of getting one put together, communicated with the cabinet and the secretaries and the governor's office, and started working from there. Again, knowing that there's some great potential in this technology, but there are some concerns. So again, the policy sets some guardrails around the use of it. And so some of the key aspects to the policy, again, it's not meant to block its use, but let folks know some of the risks. So the policy states that responses from generative AI can't be used verbatim. Somebody needs to be going through and looking for them for inaccuracies, making sure there's no bias, things like that. It shouldn't be assumed to be truthful every time. As we've seen, it can be steered to certain answers one way or the other, and it can't be treated as a sole source of reference. It can't be used to make decisions or be used as to issue official statements. And then it can't be used to impersonate individuals. On top of that, we also set in some guardrails that if vendors are using it, they need to disclose to the agency that they're using generative AI. So we need to have that in contracts. We can't have employees putting PII or other restricted use information into generative AI tools unless we can demonstrate positive control over the data. So the free versions of ChatGPT, Guard, Copilot, stuff like that, employees shouldn't be publishing sensitive information into. We don't have positive control over that. And also, our contracts need to prohibit vendors from using our data to train their models unless we expressly consent to it. So there are some models out there where some of these larger companies will give you your own AI engine, and they'll keep the data self-contained, and so that data doesn't go out. It stays within your environment, and so we can tell what to train the models on, but we can't just have vendors using our data to train their models on. So again, some guardrails, constantly evolving. So again, this policy is going to become more of a living document and kind of change some of the mold of we'll have to be constantly updating it as new things with generative AI come out. But that's really some of the big things that have been happening. So I will stand if there are any questions around some of the things happening.
Any questions for Jeff? All right, thank you, Jeff.
All right.
Next on the agenda is the legislative branch update, and that's myself. So we're continuing with our KLIS modernization project. We're deep into development of the system, and we expect to start our first phase of user acceptance testing here in October, and that will cover bill and resolution drafting and basic amendment drafting. And again, our implementation schedule is October 2024 to be used during the 2025 legislative session. We also have a update we're doing to our State House data center. We're updating some hardware components to our HyperFlex server systems, network hardware, and system software. And we're working to complete that in November of this year before the 2024 legislative session. Also, we're looking to implement a constituent relationship management system. There was a proviso put in House Bill 2184 that required a release of an RFP, which was sent out in August. We had 2 vendors submit proposals, and they provided demonstrations. Both vendors provided demonstrations this month, and those proposals are under review. That's phase 1 of that system is to be implemented by December 1st of this year. So that's everything I have on the legislative update. And are there any questions for me? All right. Next is the CISO update, and Mark Abraham, Deputy CISO, and I believe he is online.
I am here. Thank you. Just a few things to go over today. Jeff had hit on a few of those things in his update, so I'll keep this short. Again, they are working on the 7230 updates. The team appears to be making some progress, so I was encouraged to take a look at that today. I think they're headed in the correct direction, so looking forward to seeing more of that as it continues to evolve. Just a reminder that AI is being used to generate better fraud emails. I know I probably sound like a broken record on this, but never send any money. Be careful that it's actually your vendor if you see an email, and you can always call and manually verify if you have any doubts. But remember, these emails are going to be much more sophisticated as a result of AI. You're not going to see the same kind of spelling errors or language inconsistencies or those things that you typically see in phishing efforts. And you can always use multi-factor authentication as much as possible to help prevent account theft. That's both for your work account, and I offer that advice on a personal level too for your personal accounts. I know it's really tedious task to maintain that and change passwords and all, but they're really getting more and more adept at stealing credentials. Jeff alluded to the new tools. So we do have CrowdStrike that's rolling out. It's starting to pick up some traction. We did already have it on the executive branch servers. It's starting to roll out to the endpoints. We've made that available to all of the state agencies. So again, starting to pick up some good traction on that. I think that's going to be a great protective way to manage our defense in depth. So looking forward to that. And then just keep an eye out on zero-day attacks. I know you get a variety of bulletins for those that are looking at those, but try to keep a close eye on those. There are more zero-day attacks that may or may not be associated with the evolution of AI. There are now specific hacking versions of AI engines that are available that are specially customized for fraud and helping hackers do that are for sale on the darknet. And you also have uncensored engines that take off all of the controls that are put in the commercial ones like you see with GPT that don't prevent you from asking malicious questions or exploring malicious intents. So keep your eyes out. And for today, that's all I have, unless anybody has any questions. Thank you.
And
Any questions for Mark?
I'll add on kind of Mark. I think that was mentioned even in the summit, and what I've heard, I think is about 4 spoken words is all generative AI needs to be able to clone and replicate somebody's voice. So again, just be aware that is something that is out there. And to Mark's point about the 0 days, so one of the things I talked about at the summit is we are seeing a shift in the landscape. We had a major 0 day, which was a criminal organization with the Move It compromise. That typically you see those from kind of nation states, but this was a criminal organization that was able to find the 0 day, enumerate essentially the world, and exploit that vulnerability globally without anybody knowing it until they had posted all the leaked data to the internet or started posting the leaked data to the internet. So again, that's kind of a shift and kind of landscape as well. So, to Mark's point, this stuff is not going to slow down and continue to get more sophisticated. So patching, being aware, watching for those alerts for when 0 days are discovered in systems you have. Your folks need to know if they have it, they should be paying attention. So staying up on the news is a great way to get in front of that. So, but
And Jeff or Mark, I'm not sure if one of you would like to speak more to this, but just also as a reminder, everyone from this most recent legislative session, the bill that passed, House Bill 2019, there is mandatory reporting in there. And so that became effective as of July 1st. Also within that bill, there was a timeline that the KISO will be establishing guidance and publishing that on its website as of October 1st of this year. So that will be coming out soon. And again, that's for entities that have been impacted by a cybersecurity incident. So they need to report that up to the KISO office. Jeff or
Thanks,
Mark?
Sally. I think I failed to mention too that security awareness training is now in statute as well. So I don't remember if we had met. I had shared that the last time or not, but you need to make sure you're doing that as well.
yeah, for the mandatory reporting, that is for state entities or public sector organizations, that is 12 hours to the security office right now. There is a button where folks can report, but we'll put official guidance out there here before October 1st. So we're working on refining that before we post that on our website. And then any entity that is contracted with an agency that experiences some sort of cyber incident where state data is impacted essentially, or services are impacted that they provide on the state's behalf, they have 72 hours to notify the state. So we can make sure we are taking appropriate actions as well. So yeah, that was another big conference topic at the Cybersecurity Summit as well. So
Ally?
thanks, Allie.
Sure. And then Mark, can you give us an update on ITEC 7230?
I did. They're making some progress on that. Again, Jeff hit kind of on the touch points. They're definitely looking at national standards. We in the KISO have been working hard to get a set of standardized policies that agencies can use as templates and making that as available as a resource for all the agencies. Part of the challenge of trying to move towards a national standard versus where we're currently at, there'd be quite a bit more rigor required. So they're working through that, trying to find out the best way to keep us moving forward with our security and developing, a robust security posture at the same time, understanding that we have a lot of different constituents that are structured different ways. And so there has to be a little bit of tailoring that comes with that when we do that. But they're making really good progress. I looked at one of the artifacts today, a draft of it, and it's looking good. I'm impressed with the work that they're doing so far. So looking forward to more of it.
All right, any further questions or comments on Mark's report? All right, thank you, Mark.
Stay safe.
All right, next item is just general comments from the board members. So is there anything on anybody's mind? Senator Pittman?
Thanks, Alan. Thanks, Alan. After thinking about the presentations, even though they aren't necessarily part of this board, I think it would be very, very good for us just to have the Secretary of State, if they're willing to come in and talk for 15 minutes on the security posture of their elections. They do a really good job in our state, and I think it would be really good in this next session, either in December, especially as we get into the election season with the primary, maybe in March for the presidential, just to have commentary from them on what steps they've taken and how they've gone about securing the election, so that we all feel confident that that's the case, and I'm sure it is. If that was a possibility, we could make a request.
Yep.
Obviously don't have to.
Alex, we can make that request. Secretary of State to present on election security. Any other comments? Thoughts? Okay, closing remarks. Alex Wong, any new action items that we have?
2 action items. The note is to add Jeff Maxson to present the cybersecurity summit presentation in the next ITEC. Note the first action item is to reach out to KU for potential AV over IP presentation. Listed myself as the owner. And the second one, I think, just coming in from Senator Pittman, which is the election security presentation. Secretary of State. Okay. Sure, as well. So I'll take both of those action items. So,
All right, thank you, Alex. With no other business before the council, I call the meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.